Listen up. You've heard the term countless times, high-value woman. It's the modern mantra, the gold standard women are told to chase. But I'm here to tell you that the entire concept is a facade. It's the biggest, most deceptive lie in the modern dating market, and it is actively destroying the future of the women who believe it. They package it as empowerment, the perfect career, the right dress, the curated social media feed. They define high value by fleeting, external validation, the flood of attention on dating apps, the curated luxury of their Instagram grid, the sheer number of options they can command on a Saturday night. This metric is a sham. It is zero substance and 100% illusion. The truth is, while women are chasing this external facade, they are devaluing their own intrinsic worth. They are trading genuine high-value traits like loyalty, selflessness, stability, and emotional maturity for the quick dopamine hit of external attention and superficial status. This isn't value, it's a temporary market surge based on physical appearance and perceived availability. You cannot build a future on a market trend. You cannot build a family on a social media filter. The genuine value a woman brings to a partnership, the ability to be a steadfast partner, a respectful co-pilot, a source of peace and unconditional support, is dismissed as boring or low effort, while the woman who masters the art of selective attention and hyperinflated demands is celebrated. Here is the central problem: this external validation. The endless supply of options on apps, the constant affirmation in DMs creates an inflated, false sense of worth. She begins to believe that because she can command the attention of the top 5% of the male market, she deserves to marry them. Her perceived value skyrockets far beyond her actual relational utility. The thesis, therefore, is brutal. This inflated, false sense of worth leads directly to the sabotage of her own future. By setting standards that are not only high but are biologically and economically impossible to meet, she systematically disqualifies every realistic, stable, and genuinely good partner who walks into her life. She is searching for a unicorn, a man who is both an alpha male with unlimited resources and an obedient, emotionally transparent provider. And she will reject every man who is merely an excellent match for a lifetime. She believes she is optimizing her choice, but in reality she is merely guaranteeing her own loneliness by prioritizing the illusion of worth over the reality of a lasting bond. That facade of high value is a self-imposed prison. The high-value woman isn't high value, she's chemically addicted to attention. Her perception of her own sexual market value is permanently warped by a relentless, constant feed of external validation. Think of it like this: dating apps, DMs, and social media likes are not forms of human connection. They are dopamine IV drips. Every notification, every like, every message from an orbiting man gives her a predictable, cheap hit of feel-good neurochemistry. This trains her brain to equate attention with worth. This creates a state of option paralysis. In the past, a woman had a limited pool of suitors, and she had to rationally assess the stability and quality of the best man available. Today, she has thousands of average suitors, all offering effusive praise and low-effort attention, constantly inflating her ego. This makes her feel like she's a top-tier celebrity, even if her actual contribution to a stable life is minimal. She sees 1,000 average men vying for her time, and her brain incorrectly concludes, if these men are fighting for me, I must deserve a man from the very top 1%. This leads directly to the rejection of suitable stability. The good, stable man, the one who offers consistent loyalty and a peaceful future, is boring. He doesn't provide the rush. He doesn't create the scarcity. He doesn't deliver the dopamine spike of a new match or high-status comment. She is addicted to the rush of being chosen and the high-intensity anxiety of chasing the unobtainable. By rejecting the stable man, she maintains the illusion of limitless upward mobility, feeding her chronic addiction to external validation and ensuring she never actually settles down to build a real life. Her ego is satisfied, but her future is sacrificed. Let me give you a devastating real-world consequence. Meet Jessica. In her late 20s and early 30s, Jessica was the textbook HBW facade. She was a 9 out of 10 physically, had a decent job, and her dating apps were a constant stream of high-quality suitors. She had multiple serious, stable men, the kind who bought rings and talked about mortgages. But she rejected them all. They were nice, they were sweet, but they were never exciting enough or top-tier enough to match the inflated worth her validation addiction demanded. Her ego told her, "Wait, there is always someone better. You deserve the absolute best." She played the game of option paralysis right up to the edge of her temporal cliff. Now, Jessica is 38. The filters and the makeup still work, but the sexual market has delivered its brutal, inevitable penalty. Her physical value is plummeting, and the flood of high-tier suitors has turned into a desperate trickle of low-commitment men who recognize they can have her without effort. The temporal cost of waiting is unforgiving. She wasted her peak biological and social years chasing an illusion. The financial cost is even worse. The men she discarded in her 20s, the ones talking marriage and building generational wealth, are now married, established, and closed off. She is now forced to accept dating prospects who are demonstrably lower quality, less financially secure, less stable, and less reliable than the men she was rejecting a decade ago. She delayed the contract for 10 years, seeking a 10-1-10 man, and now she is forced to settle for a 5-10 man while watching her discarded suitors thrive. Jessica is now experiencing the crippling regret of discarded stability. She realizes that the not good enough men she casually dismissed were actually her best and last reliable options. Her current reality is the inevitable penalty for playing a zero-sum hypergamous game for too long. Her high-value facade guaranteed her low-value outcome. So let's talk about the disastrous outcome when the high-value woman facade finally breaks down and she reluctantly accepts the stable man. She eventually chooses the good provider, the ATM, because she ran out of time chasing the impossible. But she doesn't enter the marriage with love, she enters with resentment. She believes she's settled. This inflated self-worth, built on years of external validation, makes her incapable of compromise, respect, or gratitude. She views the stable man not as an equal partner, but as a consolation prize she is entitled to. This creates a toxic relationship dynamic where she unconsciously sabotages the peace. How does this manifest? First, the constant demand for upgrades. Because she sees herself as a 10 and her husband as a 7, the best she could get at 38. She demands constant status upgrades to validate her sacrifice. She demands a bigger house, a better car, or more exotic vacations, not out of necessity, but to signal to her peers that she still married a winner. The relationship becomes a resource extraction mission disguised as a partnership. Second, the undermining of leadership. She is incapable of showing respect. She will challenge his decisions, initiate conflict over trivialities, and undermine his masculine leadership because showing submission or cooperation would imply that he is worthy of her presence. The constant conflict she initiates, the needless fights, the perpetual criticism, is her subconscious way of injecting drama and anxiety into the stable relationship to compensate for the lack of chemical thrills she experienced during her wild phase. The high-value woman mindset turns the partnership into a constant draining battle for control and external validation. She is perpetually fighting the relationship to prove to herself and the world that she did not, in fact, settle. The stable man thinks he bought a wife. He actually bought a full-time antagonist whose only goal is to seek external status and disrupt the very peace he provides. We have exposed the lie. The high-value woman is a temporary market anomaly, a product whose price is inflated by attention, not sustained by utility. This facade guarantees loneliness, not fulfillment. So, let's establish the final, uncompromising mandate for men who are still fighting this battle. To the men, your mission is to reject the external facade. Stop rewarding impossible demands. Do not enter a contract with a woman whose sense of self-worth is entirely reliant on how many strangers validate her on the internet. A woman who measures her value by her market options will always see you as a temporary asset, not a permanent partner. Your job is not to fix her arrogance or meet her impossible standard. Your job is to walk away from the risk. Prioritize women whose value is intrinsic: loyalty, gratitude, peace, and stability. Refuse to be the consolidation prize she settles for. To the women you have substituted intrinsic worth, the quiet strength of a loyal character, with fleeting external validation, the noise of attention. You maximized your options in your 20s and 30s, but you minimized your stability in your 40s and 50s. You traded the chance for deep, lasting partnership for the dopamine rush of being desired by men who never intended to stay. Your arrogance, fueled by societal lies, drove away every good, suitable man who offered to build a life with you. The final price of that delusion is paid when the external validation stops, the options dry up, and the curtain falls. The inevitable loneliness of old age is the final price paid for believing your own hype. The final verdict is simple. You demanded the absolute best, but your arrogance guaranteed you'll get nothing at all. Walk away from the illusion and focus on the reality of building your own unconquerable life.